Good day. Welcome to another episode of Easy Law Online. Ako si Attorney Rosario Chato Olivas. And in this video, I would like to discuss 35 things to remember about interpleader under Rule 62. This video is for law students and law graduates who are preparing for the bar exam. And that is why this is part of my bar review guide series. So, umpisahan na natin ang tungkol sa interpleader under Rule 62. First, ano ang nature and purpose of an interpleader action? Definition. Ang gagawin natin dito ay babasahin ko muna ang slides and then if there is something to explain, i-explain ko after reading the slides to you. Okay, so definition. Interpleader is a remedy whereby a person, the plaintiff or stakeholder who has property, real or personal, in his possession or an obligation to render, comes to court and asks that conflicting claimants to the said property or obligation be required to litigate their several claims among themselves. So ito ay special civil action that is filed by a person na meron siyang hawak-hawak na pera or property or meron siyang kailangang obligation na gawin, pero may mga conflicting claimants. May at least two persons who are claiming that they are the ones entitled to that property or to the money or to the rendition of the obligation. So ang gagawin ng stakeholder is sasabihin niya dun sa claimants, you litigate your claims among yourselves. And this is, how does he do this? By filing an interpleader action. So, magbibigay ako ng running example for this lecture. Ito ay isipin natin na merong umuupa ng isang bahay. Siya ang lessee. Tapos may dalawang nagka-claim na sa kanila dapat ibayad yung upa. So, these are conflicting claimants. Sabi nung isa, siya yung lessor, siya yung may karapatan dun sa bayad sa upa. Sabi nung isa, siya yung may-ari ng property, siya yung may karapatan matanggap yung bayad sa upa. Eh yung stakeholder or yung plaintiff, wala naman siyang interest na hawakan yung money kasi gusto nga niyang magbayad. Okay? So ang gagawin niya, magfa-file siya ng interpleader action para yung dalawang claimants ay sila ang magsasabi sa court, magpapresenta ng ebidensya, who is the one who is lawfully entitled to the money that is being held by the plaintiff. Okay? Now, let's go to number 2, purpose. To compel conflicting claimants to litigate their claims among themselves, thereby relieving the plaintiff from the hazard of double vexation or multiple liability. So, yung taong walang interest dun sa property, like the lessee, no? Siya yung renter, siya yung magfa-file ng case. Para yung conflicting claimants, silang mag-aaway sa court, sino ba talagang entitled. And the plaintiff will be relieved from the hazard of double vexation or multiple liability. Yung hindi na palaging papadala siya ng demand letter, hindi na palaging ipapollow up sa kanya. Kasi nga, magiging double vexation. Imagine dalawang claimants ang nagsasabing silang entitled. So para matahimik na ang plaintiff, magfa-file siya ng interpleader action. Number 3, preventive measure. It is a preventive remedy designed to prevent future litigation against the plaintiff from different claimants. Bakit siya preventive? Kasi ang maaaring mangyari dyan, hindi alam ng plaintiff kung kanino siya magbabayad. Maaari siyang ihabla ng dalawang claimants. So there will be two separate cases against him. Now, to prevent this from happening, he will be the one to bring an interpleader action against the conflicting claimants. Number 4, it is equity-based. It is an equitable remedy founded on principles of fairness and justice. So talagang ang purpose nito is fairness and justice, ensuring the plaintiff is not prejudiced by claims over which he or she has no control or interest. Now, it is not for the settlement of a breach. In this case, there is no breach of any obligation by the defendants towards the plaintiff. Unlike ordinary civil cases, there is no cause of action in this case, because there is no damage or injury to the plaintiff. The conflict is between the defendants and the case is about resolving who is entitled to their conflicting claims. So balikan lang natin yung ordinary civil action. where you have the plaintiff and the defendant. The plaintiff in an ordinary civil action has a right, which the defendant should respect. Now, the defendant has an obligation to respect that right. So yung first element of a cause of action is plaintiff's right. Second element is the defendant's obligation to respect that right. Now, the third element of a cause of action in an ordinary civil action is the violation by the defendant of the plaintiff's right, causing damage or injury. So, dapat may damage or injury. So, in this case, wala yung mga elements na yon. Okay? There's no cause of action. There's no damage or injury to the plaintiff. Walang obligation na breach yung defendant sa plaintiff. The conflict here is between the two or more defendants. And the case is about resolving. Sino ba sa dalawang or more na defendants ang entitled dun sa bayad or dun sa property in possession of the plaintiff? Okay? So, number 6, disinterested party. The plaintiff must generally be a neutral or disinterested party. He has no claim against the defendant. Oo nga naman, wala siyang claim. Kasi nga walang injury na nangyari sa kanya. Gusto lang niyang malaman sino ba talaga yung dapat niyang bayaran o sino ba talaga yung dapat niyang bigyan ng property na hawak-hawak niya. Okay, number 7, he has no interest in the subject matter whatsoever. So for example, yung sa running example natin, he wants to pay rent, he's not interested in keeping the rental payment, he wants to pay the rightful lessor. Number 8, this is a protection, not a claim. The plaintiff seeks protection from double liability or double vexation, not to present any claim against the defendants for breach of obligation. Eh, yung pinag-usapan natin kanina tungkol sa lack of cause of action in an interpleader action. Number 9, deposit of subject matter. So aside from plaintiff's disavowal of interest, this action may require the plaintiff to deposit the property or funds with the court. Para hindi na mabother yung plaintiff o para matapos na yung usapan in so far as the plaintiff is concerned, ide-deposit niya yung rental payment sa court. Kung sinong manalo dun sa interpleader action as between the two or more defendants, they will be the one entitled to get the money from the court after final judgment. Now, when is interpleader proper? 10. There are conflicting claims. So there are two or more conflicting claims upon the same subject matter. Number 11, against the plaintiff. These claims are or may be made against the plaintiff. So note, balik na dito sa ordinary civil action, where it is the plaintiff that has the claim against the defendant. Dito naman, yung defendants ang may claim against the plaintiff. Number 12, the claims are effective. Parties sought to be interpleaded must be in a position to make effective claims. Their claims cannot be frivolous, speculative, or entirely baseless. They must have some legal or factual foundation that, if proven, could entitle them to the disputed subject matter. So, hindi lang basta-basta na magka-claim sila. Dapat may basis. Somehow. So, for example, in our running example, you have the two claimants for the rental. One is saying, siya yung proper lessor, siya yung talagang nagpa-upa. Okay? Sabi naman ng isang claimant, binenta na sa kanya yung property. So siya na yung owner. He is the one entitled to receive the rental payment. So there is some kind of a legal or factual foundation. Okay. So number 13, the same subject matter. The conflicting claims of the defendants must relate to the same subject matter, the same fund, the same debt, or the same property. 14. Adverse claims. The claims of the defendants must be adverse to each other, such that success by one claimant necessarily defeats or diminishes the claim of another. So ang may conflict yung defendants, pag nanalo yung isa, necessarily matatalo yung isa. Okay, madedefeat yung claim ng isa. Number 15, timeliness. An action for interpleader should be filed within a reasonable time after a dispute has arisen without waiting to be sued by either contending claimant. While there is a strict statute of limitations for filing an interpleader action, it's generally advisable to institute it as soon as possible once conflicting claims arise. So dapat as soon as possible. If a file ng plaintiff ang interpleader action, bakit? Kasi baka siya yung filean ng case ng defendants. Baka unahan siya. Diba? For example, unpaid rental. Sinasabi, kasi hindi niya alam kanino siya dapat magbayad. Hindi siya makabayad. Baka mamaya ihabla siya ng defendants for unlawful detainer. So bago mangyari yon, yung plaintiff na ang magfa-file ng interpleader action. Number 16, ito yung mga examples ng interpleader. You have a bank facing conflicting claims over a deposit. Okay? For example, may naiwan na deposit ang isang taong namatay, may mga nag-claim na heirs, o sino ngayon ang entitled dun sa deposit. Okay? Now, a lessee who does not know to whom to pay rentals due to conflicting claims on the property's ownership. So, yung isa nagka-claim siya yung may-ari, yung isa siya yung nagka-claim na siya yung may-ari, hindi alam ng lessee, kanino ba siya magbabayad? Another example, an insurer facing multiple claimants to an insurance policy. Another one, a warehouse man faced with conflicting claims over stored goods. O may goods na nakastore dun sa kanyang warehouse. Nagka-claim 2 tao. Sino ba talaga ang entitled dun sa goods na yon? This is proper for interpleader. Parties and jurisdiction. So, ang plaintiff is the person against whom the conflicting claims are made. Siya yung magbibring ng action. The defendants, they are the claimants, the persons who make conflicting claims over the subject matter. So, parang baliktad, di ba? Sa ordinary civil action, yung plaintiff yung claimant, yung defendant yung persons against whom the claims are made. Pero in this case, the defendants are the persons who have the conflicting claims. And then, so pagdating dito sa plaintiff, katulad nga sinabi, this is the person against whom the conflicting claims are made. Alright? So ang goal ng plaintiff, sige, defendants, mag-away na kayo dito sa court. You interplead with each other. You have a trial as between each other para malaman sino ba talaga ang entitled dito sa item or subject matter na to. 19, jurisdiction. It depends on the value of the subject matter or nature of the property, such as assessed value of the real property. Okay? It will depend on whether it will be under RTC or MTC jurisdiction. Pero ito ang sinasabi ng mga commentators, mga commentaries. May case in the 1960s decided by the Supreme Court saying that an interpleader action is incapable of pecuniary estimation. So, RTC. So, ano ngayon ang gagawin nyo pag tinanong ito sa bar exam? I-cite ninyo to because that is the majority or that is what many commentators are saying, although an early case in the 1960s decided by the Supreme Court refers to interpleader as incapable of pecuniary estimation. I-cite ninyo yung ganon para kompleto yung sagot ninyo. Until we have a definitive ruling from the Supreme Court affirming what the commentators are saying. 20, venue. Ito naman, we follow the ordinary rules on civil actions on venue. So it says where the real property is located or where the plaintiff or any of the defendants resides at the election of the plaintiff. So, pag real property, ang tawag dyan sa venue na yan, local venue. Pag personal property or hindi personal property, meaning no property is involved, but in all other cases, it is where the plaintiff or any of the defendants resides, ang tawag dyan, transitory venue. Now, let's look at the procedure. 21, a complaint is filed, it must be verified, and it must set forth the conflicting claims. And that the plaintiff has no interest or his interest is not disputed. Okay? So 22, deposit of subject matter. Ang unang-unang gagawin ng court, mag-i-issue yung court ng order requiring the conflicting claimants to interplead. Pagkatapos noon, if necessary, if justice requires, the court may direct that the subject matter be paid or delivered to the court. So the order that the court will issue is an order to interplead. 23. And then summons will be issued by the court. Summons together with a copy of the complaint and the order to interplead. Isa-serve yan sa conflicting claimants. And then number 24, pwedeng mag-file yung conflicting claimants ng motion to dismiss. Ang peculiar ground dito is motion to dismiss based on impropriety of the interpleader action. But there are other grounds for a motion to dismiss under Rule 15 of the Rules of Court. You have lack of subject matter jurisdiction, litis pendentia, or res judicata. May fourth ground, prescription. Kaya lang hindi ko siya nilagay because as earlier discussed, there's really no timeline or prescription for filing an interpleader action. But what we want is for the plaintiff to file the interpleader action as early as possible. Okay? Una, to prevent him from being the defendant in a case that the claimants may file. O kaya, para hindi mag-set in ang latches. Number 25, tolling of the period. The period to file the answer is tolled if a motion to dismiss is filed. So dito, sa interpleader action, you have 15 days to file an answer. Not 30 as in ordinary civil actions. So dun sa 15 days, pag final yung motion to dismiss on the 5th day, magsa-stop yung 15-day period to file an answer until the motion to dismiss is resolved. And then the defendant can file the answer. So number 26, answer period after denial of the motion to dismiss. The movant may file an answer within the remaining period. In our earlier example, final niya on the 5th day and there are 15 days to file an answer. So, pwede siyang mag-file ng answer within the remaining period of 10 days, but not less than 5 days from notice of denial. Sa ordinary civil actions, it is 30 days from service of summons. 27, claimant's answer. Each claimant shall file his answer setting forth his claim within 15 days from service of summons, serving a copy on the other claimants. And nga sinasabi ko kanina, 15 days, not 30 days. 30 days is for ordinary civil actions. 15 days is for interpleader. Okay? 28, reply. Other claimants may file replies to the answer kasi nga interplead. So, exchange of pleadings between and or among the claimants. 29, default. Now, this is important. If a claimant fails to plead within the time fixed, the court may, on motion, declare him in default and thereafter render judgment barring him from any claim in respect to the subject matter. Unang-una, motion. There must be a motion filed to declare the claimant in default. Hindi pwedeng motu proprio. Okay? And even after the 15-day period has passed, there has to be a motion. Now, if there is a motion and the claimant is declared in default, what happens? The court will render a judgment barring him from any claim in respect to the subject matter. Hindi na siya pwedeng mag-claim. Ang ordinary civil actions, iba. Kapag na-declare in default yung defendant, the plaintiff will be required to present evidence. In interpleader, the defendant in default will be barred from any claim. So wala na, hindi na siya pwedeng mag-claim. Tapos na. Alright? Now, there will be pretrial after issues are joined among the claimants. So again, to distinguish this from ordinary civil actions, the issues are joined in ordinary civil actions as between the plaintiff and the defendant after the answer is filed by the defendant. In this case, the issues are joined among the claimants, not between the plaintiff and the defendants. The defendants are the claimants. Okay? So, in this way, iba, because the plaintiff nga, wala ngang issue na nire-raise yung plaintiff except who among the claimants is entitled. So, that can be decided among the claimants. After the pretrial, trial will proceed. Parties will have to present evidence to determine who is rightfully entitled as between the conflicting claimants. And then, judgment. Point 32, determination of rights. The court determines the respective rights of the conflicting claimants to the subject matter. Okay, so sasabihin na ng court who is entitled to the property that is being held by the plaintiff. Number 33, Binding effect. The judgment is binding upon all the interpleaded claimants. In other words, those who are not impleaded or interpleaded, the judgment will not be binding upon them. 34. Effect on original claims. The interpleader action does not extinguish the original claim. It merely redirects them to be litigated among the claimants themselves in one proceeding. So, yung claim ng mga defendants, nandyan pa din. Kaya lang, hindi na sila magka-claim against the plaintiff. The claimants will litigate among themselves. And last, distinguish from intervention. Ang interpleader is an original action. It is filed by the plaintiff, the person who is holding the money or the property. So there is no existing action. In intervention under Rule 19, there is an existing action and the intervenor wants to join the action. Now that ends our discussion on interpleader. I pray for your success in your law studies and bar exams and in your career. God bless you. Always remember to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. That is my favorite Bible verse from Micah chapter 6, verse 8. God bless you.